Hello, it's Stephen here back with another video. It's the day after Manchester City have just absolutely owned Manchester United at Old Trafford. 3-1 in the Carabao Cup semi-final first leg. And I'm still very delighted because Manchester is a lovely shade of blue. Well, it's miserable and grey as always, but it's blue underneath that cloud, I promise you. But today we're going to talk about that and 5 things that we learned from that game. But I want to say thank you, as ever, to OneFootball for continuing to be an absolutely wonderful app and a source of inspiration for this channel. Loads of great news constantly delivered straight to your phone. It's free. It helps support this channel as well, so go and download it in the link in the description below. Do yourself a favour, loads of news during the transfer window and all that kind of stuff, and loads of Manchester City updates as and when they happen. So if you don't want to miss out on the Manchester City news, get OneFootball right now in the link in the description below. But today it's time to take a closer look at 5 individual topics that I picked out after yesterday's game. Don't forget as well, you can go and watch the match reaction, which I recorded immediately after the game last night. It's up on my channel. There'll be a card on screen right about now, so you can go and watch some more in-depth thoughts there in general. But this is the turn of 5 talking points that I personally picked out. There's probably plenty more to talk about, but these are the ones that caught my attention. I'm going to start with that guy that we all love, Fernandinho. Now, I had to mention him today because the rumours are that he's considering signing a new contract. Well, he's pretty much come out and said that directly, which is absolutely wonderful news. I know he's not particularly young, he's like 34 at the moment or something like that, but Fernandinho is a one-off kind of footballer. He's the kind of person that seems to defy all logic because he's just exceptionally fit, genuinely very healthy. He's a great example of the kind of player that when people were saying like 20 years ago players will play to the near 40, he's the kind of person that they were on about. Like, the kind of guy is so fit these days that he makes 25-year-olds from 20 years ago look unfit. Fernandinho is a physical freak and a fantastic professional, and most importantly, a leader. And last night, once again, he was absolutely brilliant. He showed why he has to be here for another season, because we need his experience to help lead some of the younger players, to help lead the likes of Eric Garcia and Taylor Howard-Bellis, and to pass on his knowledge to Foden, and to help the new centre-backs that come in be the best that they can possibly be, and even teach Rodri a thing or two. I loved Guardiola's quote yesterday, which is a snidey dig at probably people like myself and other fans and other pundits who said that he can't play where he can play. Guardiola said, yeah, but he has to play in central midfield. It's a big mistake for the manager. He has to play holding midfield. And we hear you loud and clear, Pep. Fernandinho is very good in that role. It's a totally fair comment. He's excellent there. And he's getting better. Like, genuinely, players at his age should not be learning new things that well, that naturally. But it says everything about how good Fernandinho is as a footballer and how much of a legend he is, genuinely, that he's taken to this new role and looking brilliant and better every single day. Fernandinho, give him a new contract. He's absolutely world-class, genuinely, and he's showing what a quick learner he is. He could be like our first choice alongside Laporte when he gets back finally, but all I know is that I'm glad he's there, and all I know is that I'm glad that he could be getting a new contract. Secondly, to touch on that man once again, Guardiola, we probably really should trust in Pep, shouldn't we? I know we can be frustrating occasionally, but who can't be? I mean, we're all frustrated. You're frustrated. You watching the camera sometimes, you're frustrated. I'm definitely frustrated sometimes. We all are a little bit, because none of us are perfect because we're made of flesh, bones and blood and all that kind of stuff. We're human, so we're not robots. We're not capable of being totally and utterly perfect. We make decisions based on emotions, based on subjective things, sometimes objective opinions as well, but we make mistakes basically, and Guardiola can make mistakes too, but more often than most of us by a long stretch, he gets them right. This is why he's paid the big bucks. This is why he's a footballing genius and we're not. This is why he's a manager of one of the best clubs in world football and he's done what he's done. Guardiola last night got it absolutely spot on. We all, on Twitter, I saw everyone having a bit of a breakdown, myself included. I was like, what's he doing there? Please don't mess around, Pep. And Pep messed around and Pep got it right. So maybe sometimes it's worth kind of trusting in Pep a little bit. I'm not saying don't have your opinion, of course, because that's the fun of football. What is the point of watching football if you can't have a moan every now and then or think that you know more than someone else does? That's the fun of it, isn't it, really? But I think we all probably admit when push comes to shove, Guardiola knows a lot more about football than all we do. And he got it totally right last night. That kind of like 3-1-6 kind of thing utterly bamboozled Manchester United. We were so far ahead of them, it was absolutely painful. And they didn't really know how to get anywhere near our forwards. Well, we didn't really have any forwards, so that was the point. We played like 4 false nines at times. You had like Sterling, Mahrez, Bernardo, Kevin De Bruyne, maybe even Gundogan sometimes. Yeah, all of them were kind of getting really, really far forward. And they looked terrified of us. And it was absolutely wonderful to see. It was a masterclass from Guardiola, if we're being totally honest. A genuine masterclass. And he absolutely nailed it. Also, the third point on this is that we're absolutely miles better than them, aren't we? Genuinely miles better than him. Now, growing up as a little kid, I was often like, I was the butt of the joke because I was the only Manchester City fan. I grew up in South Manchester, which is a pretty United kind of area. Grew up in Urbanston, and I guess I was so used to Manchester City losing. It happened all the time in the 90s when I was a kid and all that kind of stuff, that I got to the point where I was just sick of the sight of Manchester United, and I got bullied by the mates at school for it. And I never really thought I'd see a day when City are as good as they are right now, but we are genuinely phenomenal. We are so much better than United these days. I know we keep finishing ahead of them in the league and all that kind of stuff since Ferguson retired, but last night really kind of drove home that absolutely huge chasm. It's a gaping Grand Canyon kind of chasm between Manchester City and Manchester United, and I love it. I genuinely love it. They got lucky last night that it wasn't 5-0, and the best thing about it is they did it in front of their own people as well. Because of that Derby Day victory, I reckon they got a bit confident, a little bit cocky. That's why you saw all these United kind of ex-pros turn up. You had Ferguson sat in the stands there, Charlton, Scholes, Giggs, Rooney, Butt, all of them, all the fuckers were there. They were just sat there in the stands watching Manchester City, thinking, oh, today could be the day that we get caught on camera celebrating a United victory at Old Trafford in a derby. And guess what, lads? It didn't happen. And it makes it that little bit sweeter. I'm sorry to any rival fans watching this. As a City fan, that stuff is quite fun. It's quite fun. And I think you'll have to give me that. I know the United fans that watch this channel, and thank you for your support, United fans. But, you know, it's a derby day, so you've got to allow a little bit of gloating, and it's fun. And it really did blow my mind a little bit last night that I kind of realised, like, how am I only mildly happy with a 3-1 victory over Manchester United? I was like, wow. That says it all about how far these two teams have come, because City could have easily won that about 6-0 last night, and that would not have been even a surprise. That would have been City battering what has become a mid-table team, and I tell you what, that is never ever going to get boring for me personally as a Manchester City fan. The next point is about Raheem Sterling. We're going to have to go there, unfortunately. I think he maybe needs to be back on the right again. Now, he was never really meant to be a left winger kind of solution. I think we all know he's there because we've got no one else. Sane's over there basically usually, and he's not there, and we don't really fancy everyone else on the left. So we've got to the situation now where he's there by default. And I think initially it did work for a little bit. We kind of polished it a little bit, and we got away with Sterling cutting in and scoring some goals. But eventually, I think teams have got really savage to him. Now, add this to a mixture of probably being overplayed as well, so a lack of rest. But I think the fact that teams are so used to what Sterling does now, and the fact that he's probably a little bit tired, makes him incredibly predictable. And I think it's starting to affect his confidence a little bit as well. So all you have to do now with Sterling is genuinely just like let him come in on his right foot, and eventually he'll just run into a wall of defenders. If you cut back to the start of the season, you think about it, he had some success doing that. I think teams weren't quite prepared for it in the same way. So he had a little bit of success. He scored a couple of good goals, cutting in and kind of curling it in from the edge of the area. That isn't happening at all now. Teams just reading it. They're just guiding him along because he's so reluctant to use his left foot, which is a shame. I mean, if he's that predictable, unfortunately, he loses a lot of impacts. Now, don't get me wrong. This is not a criticism of Raheem Sterling at all. I love him. I think he's world class. But I think he's playing in a position that he's not bringing out his strengths at all. And I think he needs to be back on the right, where he's so much more comfortable cutting in, taking a shot and all that kind of stuff. Not cutting in, we're just driving past his man. And what we've got now, basically, is a winger. He's not getting the end of crosses at the back post anymore either, because he's too uncomfortable using his left foot. So I think we're basically nullifying what makes him really special, and I think teams have got very savvy to him, and we're not really seeing the same Raheem Sterling that we know is capable of being so effective. We need to find a long-term left-wing solution that isn't, in my humble opinion, Raheem Sterling. Now, I'm hoping that I'm just wrong there and it's just a form thing, but I just genuinely think it is what it is, because we see nice little bits of play when he goes in the middle or whatever, and we see some genuine encouraging moments when he has a kind of like a 360 vision, and that for him comes from when he's on the right, when he can see all the pitch that way, but he doesn't seem to have that same thing when he's on the left. It just seems a bit frustrating. Anyway, he'll get there eventually, I'm sure he'll get back his form, but I feel like it is because he's on the left. Maybe I'm wrong, but get Raheem back on the right is what I would say to that. Finally, on to Bernardo Silva. I just wanted to basically eulogise about Bernardo Silva. Now, we all know that he's not been quite at the same level as last season. A lot of people reckon it's because he doesn't play centre or whatever, and some people say that's not the case or whatever. Personally, I don't think it's as simple as that. I think there's probably loads of factors. Maybe it's just not quite as sustainable as last year. Maybe there's something behind the scenes. Maybe the Mendy kind of tweet for Raw kind of affects him a little tiny bit. Maybe it's a case that it's just inevitable that he can't quite keep up at the same levels, especially given the fact that he played in the summer as well for Portugal. I don't really know. All I know last night was just very, very good. He was excellent. A wonderful goal. Genuinely fantastic Messi-esque goal with that rocket from distance. And then a wonderful through ball for Mahrez for the second goal. Genuinely really, really good. All I know is that we need to find a way to encourage that kind of form out of him. Because when he plays like that in a big game, he's genuinely a game changer. He's a big game player, Bernardo. He will run and run and run for days. That guy has an engine that is unmistakable. So good. I don't really prescribe to the idea that he can only be effective in the middle. You got to bear in mind that he was playing kind of like on the right of a 4-4-2, I think, something like that for Monaco. So he was playing like a right-sided midfielder. When we signed him, he was brilliant there as well. Towards the end of last season, when he was driving us towards the title, he played a mixture of in the centre and on the right. He can do both and be very effective. And he was effective as well towards the end of last season. I think for whatever reason, he's just been a little bit out of form. Maybe being in the central will help him regain some of his confidence in terms of he's on the ball more, so he can try a little bit more. But all I know is that Bernardo, when he's on form like he was last night, he just offers something entirely different to what most of our players can, because it's that tenacity and that energy and that ability to ping one in from distance. I know De Bruyne can do that as well, but that was absolutely sumptuous. And that's what Bernardo was doing last year as well. Cast your mind back to the Arsenal goal away from home. Lovely, lovely stuff. Anyway, guys, that's just 5 things that I personally picked out from the game. I'm still absolutely delighted from last night. I mean, now the kind of disappointment of the poor second half has faded. We beat Man United 3-1 away from home. And I know we've still got like a tie to play for, really, because the game isn't over. But it was a good result. We got the bragging rights. And the United fans in my office today were very, very quiet, which I loved. I gave them a little bit of kind of like headspace for then half an hour. And I kind of jokingly dropped a bit of a jibing, which was good fun, because you have to do that, really, don't you? Guys, let me know what you learned from the game in particular. What do you make about the Sterling on the right kind of thing? Fernandinho's new contract, all that kind of stuff. Let me know in the comments below. Go and check out my match reaction video from last night too, and I'll see you tomorrow for a transfer update. Yep, it's that time of transfer window. I'm going to talk about transfers tomorrow, so make sure you hit the subscribe button, press the bell so you get a notification when that video goes live too as well, and I'll see you tomorrow. In a bit, guys.